You, who have been blind for 18 years, open your eyes for the first time, only to find that the wife you've been sleeping beside is actually the reigning empress, and the maid you pinch and bully daily is the unparalleled sword fairy, unmatched in the world. Even the big yellow dog that wags its tail at you at home is a primordial great demon who has lived for 300,000 years. The Empress feared you might be exploited by those with ill intentions, so she had the people in the palace pretend to be ordinary citizens. But she never imagined in a million years that you were not truly blind, but had voluntarily sealed your eyes and divine sense. Because you, who came through a book, awakened the blind sword saint system. Just sealing your eyes can make you continually stronger, and you can draw top-tier rewards from the system. Through cunning development, you've already gained the celestial-grade space-time sword intent. Your energy can transform into three Qing states, capable of splitting into 3 overturning sword cultivators, with the archaic sacred body invincible at the same level. Reaching the mid-stage of the Moonlight Realm, rare to find an opponent in the world. But at your wife, the Empress's birthday banquet, 7 young Supremes dared to come and snatch your wife. 7 young Supremes, aged between 30 and 50, all of them at the overturning realm cultivation. For practitioners, reaching this realm at such an age is absolutely considered monstrous. In the ancestral residence of the Qin family in the capital, you lie leisurely on a chair drinking tea and laugh lightly. Young Supremes? In my hometown. By 50, you should be holding grandchildren. Butterfly stands by, fanning lightly, hearing your mutterings, with an odd look in her eyes. If the gentleman knew that the reigning empress was his own wife, he might just rage for her beauty and slaughter all the young Supremes. Impudent, the Sun Lord shifts from his lazy, fish-like stance, arching his back and baring his teeth, inhaling and exhaling solar fire essence through his mouth and nose, murderous intent evident, humbly saying, "Killing them would be like slaughtering dogs." Wait a minute, something seems off. The Sun Lord's dog face filled with confusion. Smack! You slap the big yellow dog's forehead, rebuking. What are you whining about? The Sun Lord's dog face immediately fell, glancing at you, silently lying down. All right. This god can change faces. I was going to stand up for your wife, but with you, the Sword Saint, there's no need for me. Speaking of which, this blind man's aura is getting more terrifying by the day, giving it a suffocating feeling like being wrapped by a python. You, sipping tea, activate an eavesdropping divine power, listening to the entire backstory clearly. This divine power is the supreme secret method for gathering information. But you, a lazy fish, use it to listen to books and music when bored. You even taught this divine power to Su Chinku and Butterfly. They thought you had some secret mission for them, but didn't expect it was so they could promptly hear your command for tea and leg massages. In the original plot, the Empress approved the participation of the 7 young Supremes in the birthday banquet competition. The 7 Supremes crushed the talents of the Great Jin Dynasty, stealing all the limelight at the birthday banquet, shouting that there wasn't a single real man in the entire Great Jin, none worthy of the Empress. And then one by one, they proposed marriage alliances. Just when the ministers and the Empress were troubled, the fated protagonist Zhao Gu appeared and defeated all 7. But now Zhao Gu and Great Jin are like fire and water. Who can save the Empress Qinliuli? Meanwhile, at the general's mansion, a pillar of light shot into the sky. A terrifying and horrifying pressure filled the capital. A figure stood in the sky, with a burly and imposing stature. The 7 young Supremes saw the newcomer. Their faces changed one by one. Qin Fenghu. Aren't you supposed to be at the buried immortal mountain range? Qin Fenghu snorted coldly, with a murderous tone, taking advantage of my absence. A bunch of clowns harboring ill intentions. Are you tired of living? The Minister of War of the Great Qian Dynasty, Wang Tang, narrowed his eyes and laughed lightly. So it's just an avatar. At most, an early Moonlight Realm cultivation. Upon hearing this, the other young Supremes relaxed. They were all peerless talents, fighting across realms as easily as eating and drinking. Huang Hao, the third leader of the Five Spirit Clan, with a pair of golden horns gleaming on his forehead. He is a golden and transformed into a demon beast. We came with gifts, especially to congratulate the human empress on her birthday. Why should General Qin be angry, making the human race seem narrow-minded? Huang Hao spoke gracefully. Jian Wenxin's ancient sword underfoot hummed. An avatar dares to act ferociously. Have you forgotten the Forbidden Lord of Hidden Sword, who once swept across the world with one man and one sword, making all nations bow their heads? No strong man in the world dared to disobey. Seeing the atmosphere growing increasingly tense, Qin Fenghuo's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. The spiritual energy in the imperial capital became wildly agitated. Then let's fight, even if it's just an avatar. I can still kill you, 7. The 7 young Supremes exchanged glances, their eyes full of mockery and disdain. What a brute! Any one of us has a backing not weaker than Great Jin. Does the Empress have the courage to offend 7 top forces at once? Just then, a soft rebuke came from the Golden Luan Hall in the Imperial City. The voice turned into a prohibition, sealing off the violent and agitated spiritual energy in the capital, instantly suppressing everyone. The 7 young Supremes' faces changed. They spat out blood from the shock. The Empress's soft rebuke from the Golden Luan Hall could suppress 7 sea overturning realm experts. Everyone, immediately disarm and withdraw your troops. Step up to the hall to meet the Empress. An eunuch spoke loudly. The 7 young Supremes restrained their arrogance, daring not to act presumptuously any longer. Walking up to the hall like ordinary people, respectfully kneeling before the Empress. Your Majesty, I have come from afar, not only to congratulate you on your birthday, but also to spar and learn from the young generation of your esteemed country. If I achieve complete victory without defeat, I hope your Majesty can grant me one wish. Wang Teng said with a smile. The other young Supremes also spoke. We share the same wish. Don Fang Liuli said indifferently. Complete victory without defeat. I can grant the undefeated one request. But if any of you lose, you must give Great Jin 10 million top-grade spirit stones. Bartering is allowed. I agree. Thank you, Empress of Great Jin. Wang Teng couldn't suppress his smile, quickly cupping his hands and bowing. The other young Supremes nodded in agreement. Your Majesty, it is said that Great Jin has a man who can foresee the heavenly secrets. Why not invite him out to take a look, so everyone can witness his elegance? Wang Teng laughed. The Empress not only possesses peerless beauty, but her cultivation is unrivaled in the world. Upon seeing her today, he had long been captivated, and there were rumors that Minister Meng was always by the Empress's side, suspected to be the Empress's only paramour, deeply favored. This made him insanely jealous. Huang Hao said coldly. Great Jin has truly declined. The reigning Empress favors a blind man. Both the Emperor and the paramour are mere mortals. How laughable! Huang Hao, though less than 100 years old, is considered young in the Five Spirit Clan. Naturally, he desired a partner equally gifted to produce even stronger offspring. So Huang Hao didn't care about the Empress's dignity at all, directly mocking her. Impudent! Qin Fenghu roared in anger. Rolling sound waves turned into void ripples, forcefully suppressing Huang Hao. The ministers of Great Jin were furious, unleashing their pressure. Wanting to teach the arrogant young Supreme a lesson, Huang Hao's face changed slightly. Unable to defend in time, he was pushed back dozens of steps. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. Is this how Great Jin treats its guests? Huang Hao's 5 fingers clenched in the air, condensing a heavenly-grade spiritual treasure long knife. Wang Teng's smile widened. His expression grew colder. Ladies and gentlemen, think carefully. The forces behind us are not weaker than Great Jin. But if we join forces, what can Great Jin rely on to resist us? Qin Fenghu, his anger reaching its peak, prepared to personally slay these so-called prodigies. Arrogant. Great Jin fears no enemy. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Dongfang Liuli's delicate face turned icy, ready to take action herself, with a thunderous force, to quickly annihilate Wang Tang, Huang Hao, and others. At this moment, a voice reciting poetry rang out. Don't listen to the sound of the wind through the trees. Why not hum and walk leisurely? A bamboo staff and straw sandals are lighter than a horse. Who's afraid? A raincoat in the mist, living freely. Outside the golden Luan Hall, a tall figure, leaning on a blind man's staff, walked step by step along the imperial path. The newcomer wore a blue robe, with his eyes covered by a black satin cloth. His appearance was dignified. This person had no cultivation, yet he seemed to ignore the oppressive force of the sea overturning realm in the hall. His blind staff tapped lightly, resonating with the profound sound of the Tao. Clearly just a mortal. Yet everyone felt as if a giant dragon was slowly approaching. Especially the beast demons and Haitu and Huang Jinyi. Their bodies uncontrollably trembled. You entered the hall calmly, cupped your hands in salute, and bowed deeply. Your servant, Meng Qin, greets your majesty. Rise! Dongfang Liuli was quite surprised. I didn't expect you to come. At the sight of you, the empress's burgeoning killing intent instantly cooled. Huang Hao, shocked by being frightened by a mere mortal, felt anger and sneered disdainfully. Indeed, a blind man, with no spiritual power fluctuations at all. Such a useless person, yet he can be highly valued in the Great Jin dynasty. Great Jin has truly declined. You turned back, smiling politely, and said, "You have no right, youngster. What nonsense are you spouting? Huang Daoyu is not ... The chief elder of Wuya Tianzong, Duenwu Qiu, frowned. Halfway through his scolding, he suddenly caught sight of Huang Hao's unpleasant expression out of the corner of his eye. His face showed a hint of doubt. Rubbish! Utter nonsense! Huang Hao interrupted sharply, shouting angrily, Huang Hui child, how dare you slander me? Do you think I dare not kill you? Duen Wuqiu relaxed and laughed. Huang Daoyu is a heroic figure, with unfathomable cultivation. How could he be a despicable person with a severed tail? This is truly nonsense. The other young supremes said nothing, their eyes full of contempt, to resort to personal attacks right away. It seems this Meng Delang is nothing special. I once traveled far and wide, and accidentally heard a rumor that a prominent figure in the Five Spirit clan was greedy and lecherous, fond of other men's wives, especially targeting the wives of friends and family. He was hunted by his entire clan for decades. His kunkan was severed by a celestial grade spiritual treasure. You sighed. That prominent figure turned his grief and anger into strength, completely severed his emotions and desires, focused solely on cultivation. From then on, his rise was unstoppable, gradually becoming the third pillar of the Five Spirit clan. Coincidentally, this person's name was also Huang Hao. As soon as you finished speaking, everyone was shocked and uncertain. Suddenly, a figure as fast as lightning flashed before Huang Hao with a swish. That person bent down and with a dragon claw hand grabbed Huang Hao's crotch, then burst into thunderous laughter. Ha ha ha! A dignified sea overturning realm demon, the third pillar of the Five Spirit clan, has no kunk and still claims to be a hero. I spit on that. Everyone was dumbfounded. The other 6 young supremes gaped, their expressions vacant. Even the empress's lips twitched. She wanted to laugh, but feared losing her dignity. She struggled to hold it in. Huang Hao looked down blankly, a big, strong hand grasping his empty crotch. Standing before him was a towering figure. It was none other than the Pillar General Qin Fenghu. Too much. This is too much. Huang Hao's golden horns on his forehead emitted a profound light. Blood flowed from his eyes. His neck veins bulged. The other young supremes looked at Huang Hao. Their gazes were odd and somewhat disdainful. No kun. What are you proposing for? Huang Hao took a deep breath, glanced at the empress on her throne, suppressing his rage. Causing trouble here was clearly unwise. This humiliation would all be counted on Meng Qin's head, a useless person who only knows how to talk. In this world, strength speaks the loudest. Dare you participate in the birthday banquet competition? I can crush you with just one finger. Huang Hao stared at you coldly, with a malicious gaze. Zhang Qinghai cleared his throat and said, Meng Shilang has no cultivation. Competing in martial prowess is unfair. How about another way? Let's compare in literature. It can also determine the higher skill. The 7 young supremes frowned, but were helpless. They couldn't lower themselves to demand a martial contest with a scholar. Huang Hao was furious. He shouted, Meng Qin, I don't know how you learned about my past, but you dared to make it public. Be prepared to bear my wrath. How long will you hide like a turtle? Come up and fight if you have the guts. Leaning on your cane, you said calmly, desiring a battle. I will satisfy you. I have a disciple who is naturally belligerent and bloodthirsty. A late-stage sea-overturning realm sword cultivator, barely in his early 20s. If any of you can withstand 10 moves from his sword, I will extend my neck for you to chop. At the same time, you silently activated the celestial grade divine ability 1 Chet transforms into 3 pure ones, smiling warmly. How about it? Do you dare to fight? Huang Hao readily agreed. Why wouldn't I dare? Call your disciple here to meet his death. The other young supremes were equally fearless, their eyes gleaming with arrogance. In front of the hidden sword Forbidden's ground, you dared to call yourself a sword cultivator? You're courting humiliation, Jian Wenshin said coldly. Wang Ting smiled. What kind of talent could a mere mortal produce? Laughable. Suddenly, a grand sound of sword resonance echoed outside the Golden Luan Hall. Everyone looked towards the sky outside the hall, only to see, in the clear blue sky, without a cloud in sight, tens of thousands of long swords formed a path to the heavens, leading straight to the imperial palace. A black-clad youth with a smiling face mask stood with a sword on his back, stepping on the path of 10,000 swords, walking step by step towards the Golden Luan Hall. Meng Shilang's second disciple, Sword Saint Zhou Ping, here to attend the meeting. The entire capital erupted in an uproar. Countless gazes focused on the black-clad swordsman. The strands of space-time sword intent emanating from the black-clad swordsman could twist space and disrupt the flow of time. This person was indeed a genuine sword saint. The imperial capital went wild. Hundreds of sword cultivators rose into the sky, voluntarily using their life-bound swords as stepping stones for the black-clad youth. To be crowned as a sword saint requires not only strength, but also a profound understanding of sword intent. The black-clad sword saint's space-time sword intent is undoubtedly one of the top sword intents in the world. If the opponent is a sword saint, it will be troublesome. Duan Wukaiu's ugly face showed some gravity. Wang Teng's smile froze on his face. He stared in disbelief, eyes wide open. With a dry voice, he said, How is this possible? A mere mortal could teach a sword saint? The most intense reaction came from Jian Wenshin of the hidden sword Forbidden's ground. His mouth agape, expression vacant. Space-time sword intent. This is the supreme sword path. Even the half-step Kahui realm Forbidden's master couldn't comprehend it. Jian Wenshin's Dao heart was in turmoil, his eyes empty, as if thunder was roaring in his mind. I don't believe it. Jian Wenshin closed his eyes, then suddenly opened them, releasing a divine light. To illuminate the black-clad sword saint, I created a divine ability to observe a person's bone age. I don't believe you're 20. After a long time, Jian Wenshin's expression was defeated. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. He didn't lie. He's really only 20. Jian Wenshin murmured in pain. How can there be such a monster? At this moment, Jian Wenshin's pride was shattered and ground into dust. I've seen many geniuses, but they all call me a genius, the black-clad sword saint said lightly. Genius is just the threshold to see him. After speaking, the black-clad sword saint stepped over the path formed by 100,000 spiritual swords, sat on the throne of swords formed by everyone's life-bound swords, and smoothly entered the golden Luan Hall. My name is Zhou Ping, a reclusive sword cultivator. I left home as a child and accidentally met my master. Thus, I was enlightened by my master and supported all the way to this day. To me, Master Meng has a grace akin to rebirth. Zhou Ping walked through the civil and military officials with a long sword on his back. His voice was not loud, but it echoed through the imperial capital, booming in everyone's ears. So, those who insult my master, I will kill them. As he spoke, Zhou Ping's tone became murderous. The space-time sword intent spread. Within a radius of tens of meters, all colors turned to gray and white. Time seemed to stand still. Zhou Ping came to you, bowed deeply, and respectfully said, "Disciple is late. Please punish me, master." You smiled and said to the avatar, "Not late, just that someone's hands are itching. They want to fight, and you love to battle, so I called you over." Zhou Ping nodded. Wearing a smiling face mask, his expression was unreadable, but everyone could feel his intense killing intent. The black-clad sword saint slowly turned, facing the 7 young supremes. "Ladies and gentlemen, will you come at me together, or one by one?" Zhou Ping gripped the sword on his back and said, "Arrogant." Huang Hao laughed in extreme anger. Zhou Ping said indifferently, "You want to fight me?" Huang Hao considered himself no weaker than anyone. He immediately shouted, "Fight!" And eunuch led the two towards the outside of the golden Luan Hall, where stood a structure several tens of meters high. The ancient platform for marshals, built at the founding of the Great Jin by the first emperor. It took an enormous amount of resources to create. The ancient platform for marshals forms its own world. Once inside, you can unleash your abilities to the fullest. Zhou Ping and Huang Hao entered the platform one after another. In an instant, the surrounding scenery changed. Zhou Ping looked around, seeing vast mountains and rivers. The Milky Way hanging upside down in the sky. Sword Saint Zhou Ping stood tall, like an ancient divine sword, releasing his full momentum. His sword intent resonated, piercing the sky. Qin Fenghuo's avatar acted as the referee, shouting loudly. At the Great Jin Emperor's birthday banquet, the first event, martial contest, officially begins. Sect Master, do you think Sword Saint Zhou Ping can win? An elder from a sacred land attending the banquet asked the sect master of the sacred land. The sect master shook his head. The Sword Saint is formidable, but these 7 young supremes are no ordinary people. Take Huang Hao, the 3rd leader of the 5-spirit clan, with the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. He has cultivated the 4 divine beasts technique, able to summon the azure dragon, vermilion bird, white tiger, and black tortoise. The essence of these 4 divine beasts aids him in battle. Not to mention Duan Wuqiu, who has slain 3 Moonlight Realm experts across realms, and Wang Tang, who is blessed with the fortune of 10 countries. Jian Wenshin, who once forged the 10,000 spirits sword in the extreme southern sea. Sun Beisheng, who cultivated the battle god technique. It will be difficult for Sword Saint Zhou Ping to achieve complete victory without defeat. Very difficult. Soon, the battle began. Huang Hao's body flowed with golden liquid. The pair of golden horns on his forehead gleamed brilliantly. He roared, "For divine beasts, descend upon me. Manifest in the world. Intimidate the universe." As his words fell, Clear Cha appeared out of thin air. Like incense smoke, it coalesced into the azure dragon, vermilion bird, black tortoise, and white tiger. The four divine beasts roared towards the sky. Their true forms were ancient deities worshipped by all. Even a trace of their essence was incredibly terrifying. Countless onlookers were shocked and pale. Even some Moonlight Realm experts frowned, feeling threatened. Unexpectedly, Huang Hao had mastered the four divine beasts technique. Sword Saint Zhou Ping has lost. A mortal body, how can it contend with gods? Some shook their heads and sighed. But at that moment, a faint voice rang out. I said, within the borders of Great Jin, gods are forbidden. A sharp sword sound was heard. Sword Saint Zhou Ping drew his sword. Then a sword light was seen splitting the sky and earth. It was not an illusion or vision, but truly it cut the heavens and the earth. The sword light illuminated the night sky of the capital. The stars and moon lost their brilliance. In an instant, the bustling capital night became as bright as day. 1,000,000 people gazed up, looking towards the palace. Gradually, some noticed something was amiss. Cries of astonishment rang out. The sky and earth have split. They saw the entire night sky, carrying the moon and stars, seemed to be fleeing, gradually shrinking until it became distant. The sky disappeared. A chasm separated the sky and earth, as if severing eternity, a sight that left people in awe. Inside the small world of the ancient platform for marshals, the sword light tore through the world's barrier, forcibly carving out a wide and long rift. Someone was immensely shocked and asked, splitting the heavens and earth with a sword, is this something a sea-overturning realm cultivator can do? Zhang Kanghai, with vision beyond the ordinary, calmly said, no! This sword by Sword Saint Zhou Ping did not physically split the heavens and earth, but severed the spatial laws of this region. A visitor from the Forbidden Ground looked grave, staring intently at Zhou Ping, muttering to himself, where did this person come from? A sword saint at only 20 years old. Given time, he might reach the Keahui realm and see the landscape there. Even the Empress Dongfang Liuli in the Golden Luan Hall was solemn. She stood up, her gaze pierced through the dome, watching the scene of the split sky and earth. Dongfang Liuli couldn't help but look at the young man with the blind staff in the hall. With such monstrous talent, it rivals the legends. How did you teach and cultivate him? Huang Hao's eyes widened in disbelief, watching as the four divine beasts he had summoned shattered. The four divine beasts once dominated an era. Summoning even a trace of their essence was enough to forge an invincible path. But you misunderstood one thing. You are merely an ant. How can an ant summon gods? I am a golden ant. In ancient times, I fought dragons and killins, not weaker than the four divine beasts. To be summoned by me is their honor. Huang Hao was both shocked and furious. With a tear, Huang Hao decisively tore apart his human form. His body expanded. His face became hideous and terrifying, reaching a height of several dozen zhang. His entire body turned golden. Every movement caused spatial tremors. His battle strength soared, causing countless spectators to cheer wildly. Golden heaven-horned ant, fight again! Huang Hao roared, instantly vanishing from his original spot. Without warning, a fist appeared in front of Zhou Ping. The golden heaven-horned ant tribe is extremely formidable, claiming to be invincible in the same realm. Their sea-overturning realm bodies can kill Moonlight Realm human cultivators. Qin Fenghuo's heart tightened. He held his breath, ready to intervene and stop the duel at any moment. Suddenly, a piercing scream was heard. Everyone's eyes turned towards the sound. Witnessing a horrifying scene, Zhou Ping had drawn his sword and slowly swung it down through the air. Without wind or waves, it caused no ripples. However, in the next moment, Huang Hao's arm suddenly swelled, and with a loud bang exploded. The splattered blood and flesh floated in the air, as if given life. wandering in the space. Tissues such as veins, blood, bones, and flesh seem to harbor immense hatred. Separated by great distances, Huang Hao clutched the spot where his arm was severed, struggling to speak. What kind of technique is this? My golden heaven-horned and tribe is born with bodies sanctified. How could this happen? Sword Saint Zhou Ping, his robes fluttering, gracefully sheathed his sword, calmly said, my sword intent integrates into the space layers, sneaking into your body, manipulating the spatial laws. It can enlarge the tiny spaces within your body. Huang Hao's pupils contracted violently. A fear of the unknown consumed his mind. Don't want to fight anymore. Huang Hao wanted to surrender, opening his mouth to speak. But just as he did, he found he couldn't speak. Touching his mouth, he realized it was gone, turned into light particles drifting away. All living things are made of matter. My spatial sword intent can grant freedom to matter. Sword Saint Zhou Ping said indifferently. Want to surrender? Sorry, too late. Then he thrust his sword forward. The blade pierced through the skull. The rare golden heaven-horned ant, claimed to be invincible in the same realm, fell just like that. Meanwhile, on the throne in the golden Luan Hall, the Empress Dongfang Liuli leaned forward, staring intently at Zhou Ping, and said to Su Qingku, do you feel that this Sword Saint Zhou Ping seems very familiar? His playful tone, his inexplicable words, and an indescribable serene temperament. Su Qingku blinked her big, adorable eyes, glancing at the Empress out of the corner of her eye. Your Majesty, didn't you say you would never marry? That you would spend your life striving for the unification of the world, wielding your sword alone, without the need for a man's company? Yet now you know a man so well. You're done for. You've fallen in love. Answer me. Dongfang Liuli's red eyes looked at Su Qingku, seeing her remain silent for a long time, and sneaking glances at her with shifty eyes. She asked curiously. Su Qingku quickly composed herself and said, Ahem, I also think this sword saint resembles the emperor. Perhaps because the emperor taught him from a young age, so they share some similar traits. Dongfang Liuli fell into deep thought, muttering, is that so? Why do I feel they are actually the same person? Sword Saint Zhou Ping, dressed in black, holding a 3-foot sword, with golden blood dripping from the blade, walked out of the platform with a cold gaze, pointing his sword at the remaining 6 young supremes. Who dares to fight me? In an instant, the countless spectators were speechless. Their faces changed in shock. Huang Hao's fall was too sudden. A moment ago, the golden heaven-horned ant was displaying its might. The next moment, he perished completely. Mastering the spacetime sword intent, celestial grade sword intent, Jian Wenshin's lips lost color, staggering back a few steps. Cowardly before the fight. A great taboo for a sword cultivator. Jian Wenshin's sword heart was shattered. Wang Teng's face turned ashen, dark and gloomy. A 20-year-old sword saint, whose sword intent had reached its peak. Could this monster have started cultivating in the womb? It's known that sea overturning realm cultivators have a lifespan of 1,500 years, which means a 20-year-old sea overturning realm sword saint is akin to a baby in swaddling clothes. Let's end this farce. I'm in a hurry. You all come at once. Sword Saint Zhou Ping lightly wiped the blade with his fingertips, then turned his head towards the golden Luan Hall. Your Majesty, if I kill all these people, I will bear the trouble alone. Great Jin will not be implicated. The Empress smiled playfully, gave Sword Saint Zhou Ping a deep look. No need any trouble. I will personally extinguish. If the forces behind them dare to seek revenge, I will slaughter them all. Dongfang Liuli's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, releasing a dominating aura. Thank you, Your Majesty. Sword Saint Zhou Ping, full of heroic spirit, swung his sword towards the sky, ripping an irregular space rift in the night sky, from which poured torrential blood rain. A massive, hideous turtle head crashed down with a boom, collapsing a mountain range. Wang Tang's eyes turned red instantly, letting out a piercing scream. No! Zhenhai too, the guardian divine beast of Great Qian. You dared to slay it? Wang Tang's fury reached its peak. His overwhelming aura filled the heavens and earth. His face twisted. He said, "Boy, you are dead. I have stolen the fortune of 10 countries, harvested the opportunities of billions of beings. My blessings can overturn the heavens and the seas. My words and actions are like the oracles of heaven. Today, I will let you experience it." In an instant, the sky and earth changed color. The stars became incredibly bright, turning into a purple that represents fortune, as if countless Ziwei stars were floating behind Wang Tang, like the son of heaven leading his chariot into battle. Descending to the mortal world, Zhou Ping, filled with joy, clapped and laughed. "My son Wang Tang has the bearing of a great emperor," then calmly said, "All right, all of you come at once. I'm in a hurry to go home and read," Zhou Ping said, glaring at the 6 young supremes. Mo Wuyi, the 3rd prince of the Blood Sea Empire, with an aura of evil charm and arrogance, said indifferently, "Killing an ant made you so arrogant? You dared to face 6 supremes alone?" Sun Beisheng, the general of the Ally nation, took out a coiling dragon staff, his fighting spirit soaring. "Top-tier monster, comparable to a celestial deity's child? I want to see how strong you are. You will be my whetstone." Zhou Ping remained unafraid, leading the way into the platform. Turning back, he pointed his sword at the young supremes. "Come in and meet your death." The 6 young supremes exchanged glances. Without further hesitation, they entered the platform one after another.